Over the past several weeks, I think it's pretty clear that God has been up to something in our midst. He's been messing with us, and if you've had a chance to read through this book, Joining Jesus by Greg Vinke, then you know what that's about a little bit. And I've asked a couple people here and there to share some of the things that God has been teaching them and how he's been messing with them, in hopes that we'll all continue to learn. And when we're able to be back together, we can have some deeper conversations. So give a listen to this little conversation, a brief excerpt of the conversation I had with Jerry Vershek.
Okay, so Jerry, tell me just briefly how you see God working in your life now as we've been in this pandemic shelter in place type of situation for the past several weeks.
Well, I kind of harken back a little bit to the Joining Jesus book, where one of the initial phrases that stuck with me was, disturb us, Lord. And he certainly has disturbed not just us, but the whole world, obviously, with this pandemic. So that certainly is going on. It just changed so many different things that we've done. It certainly has given me a new perspective on how I see and do things in my neighborhood, with other people, or just my interactions with Karen.
Yeah, I can say many of the same things in my own circumstance and situation, and it's kind of unnerving, but also on the other side of it, you look back and you say that disturbing process that God was up to, I can see he had a purpose for it. But when you're in the moment, it's not something you generally ask for. To be brave enough to pray that prayer, Lord, disturb us, that takes some chutzpah, if you want to use that word.
Yes, you got to be careful what you pray for, right?
You just might get it. Yeah. So I hear what you're saying, and a while back I asked folks to kind of jot down for themselves things that they've learned while we've been in this time. And I was wondering if you'd be willing to share some of the things that God's been teaching you while we've been locked down.
The third part was ministering through prayer. And again, prayer lists have always been part of what we do. I mean, praying has always been what we do.
Right.
Again, you learn that from your mom and dad, table prayers, prayer before you go to bed, things like that. But we've always had people on our prayer list, our family, our friends. But one thing that happened here a few months ago, our next door neighbor who lost his wife a couple of years ago was going in for open heart surgery. And I called him a couple days ahead of time just to see how he was and to wish him well. And while I was talking with him, I've never had this conversation with him. I said to him, could I say a prayer with you?
Wow.
As he was going into the hospital. And I asked him if he could, and he said yes. He was actually very happy that we were able to say this over the phone. And it kind of hit me again as this Joining Jesus, because you never have the conversations with people. You never know what they're going to say. And certainly,
right.
Roger and I have never talked religion, or things like that. But in this case, and it just hit me, wow, all you have to do is ask the next question. And in this case here, he needed that, and I was able to be very helpful to him, and it helped me too. So those are kind of the three things that are happening, where Jesus is kind of nudging me in a slightly disturbing way.
He's messing with you, huh?
He's messing with me, yes.
Big word of thanks to Jerry this week and Doreen last week for being willing to have these conversations. If you'd like to hear the more extended version of these conversations, I'm going to have them posted up on YouTube and Facebook before too long. And I pray that these conversations stir something in you and help you realizing maybe some of the things that God's been teaching you as well, so that when we're back together, we can have more of an extended conversation together about what God is calling us to do and be as his people.